Good evening and welcome back. We are the 19th hole. Of course, we're live on In Between Media YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video, like every video we've ever done. I know you have the time on your hands. Jingle the bell for notifications so you get alerted anytime In Between Media goes live with the new video. We have the AT&T Byron Nelson this week in McKinney, Texas. And I can't wait to get started. We're going to try not to look ahead at the PGA Championship next week, but we know we're going to fail at that. But let's focus on the Byron Nelson this week. Let's hit the intro. We are the 19th hole live on In Between Media. Of course, that is Conor Coughlin at Cough_DFS on Twitter. He is our DFS expert. He's all things mixology. He's all things good-looking guys with the salt and pepper. I, of course, am Bo McBrayer, slightly junior version of Conor Coughlin here in NorCal. I had to ship an order to Sioux Falls this morning. That was entertaining. I didn't know you guys had anything more than Pony Express.
Oh, did you have to send it postal?
Yeah, it was a postal. It was a pigeon on his last nerve. He was about to go postal.
At least you know that we feed them well out here when they land.
Yeah, they land with like a bumblebee. Well, we got the last week was an elevated event. Kind of went a little sideways for most of our picks. At least for me, I got shut out on the betting side. The DFS side was okay, but not great. It was a lot of surprising guys at the top, and the guys that we had pegged made the cut, but didn't do much else. They just kind of floundered around on the weekend instead of making moves like the guys who won. But I don't want to spend too much time on that because we got next week's the second major. This week is the Byron Nelson, which I think as far as non-elevated events, this is one that people circle on their calendar for the most part. We almost had two awesome Texans in attendance this week, but Scottie Scheffler is not going to be joined by Jordan Spieth. He apparently has a wrist injury and withdrew already. So, Conor, how do you feel about A, this week, B, last week, and C, next week?
Let's start with B because I dethroned you yet again. I
can't get a 3-game winning streak. At least I'm whittling away at the money I have to send you via Venmo one of these days.
I mean, I would say it was a decisive victory, which it was points wise, but it was not because either lineup we decided to play against each other was fantastic. Jason Day.
It was not my best effort.
Mr. Jason Day, thank you so much.
Double bogey on 17 on Friday to miss the cut by one. Lovely. And it was that was the double bogey that kept it at -1 cut. So if he had stayed at -1, the people that he was jumping behind would have stayed at even, and the cut would have been at even. He would have made it either way with just a simple bogey. Double bogey, threw it all into a loop.
I talk about people making me look silly all the time. Jason Day made me look real silly last week, but that's all right. How do I feel about this week? Actually, I kind of like this tournament, at least the two times we've been played here. This place they are going to beat the hell out of this place. Like it is.
Birdie Bonanza is the terminology I used in my article for betting pros.
I probably have used some little saucier commentary about it, but it's not an incredibly difficult place to play at. They're going to score like crazy. So if you like watching golf tournaments that are like Birdie Fest, this is right up there with the best of them. And there's some decent dudes in here, and there's actually a lot of guys I kind of wanted to get a look at for next week, just kind of see what they're doing. So yeah,
It's a tune-up for us just as much as the guys playing this week.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know. This is one of those non-elevateds that I don't mind watching. So
Yeah, I agree. Let's hit the spin it back intro. Let's briefly cover last week's. What was the tournament last week? The Wells Fargo. Yeah, Quail Hollow kicked my ass. It kicked a lot of guys' asses actually. First of all, Connor, when talking about the Wells Fargo from last week, all I got to say is
what are you drinking? Is that Modelo that you got there?
Yep, I got Modelo.
Oh boy. I can tease it now, but I am drinking a little bit of Toki Japanese whiskey
Ooh, Suntory's nice.
In honor of one of my favorite plays for this week. So
I kind of already know who you're going with. There's only a few Japanese golfers anyway, but I get it. Yeah, the same, Tim. Same. Hated it.
Yeah, I actually got the pleasure of watching Tim writhe in agony in person, looking at his lineups. So if you think I don't care about the people that watch our show and play our plays, I care deeply, and it was as painful for me as it was for him. So
I actually enjoyed watching the tournament, even though none of my guys were towards the top. None of them, not a single one of them. And it was because the Wells Fargo is on such a gorgeous course. Quail Hollow is an all-time great course. It's a major championship venue. It's so beautiful. It's so well designed. And anytime you can see PGA Tour professionals on greens that roll perfectly true throughout the week, I didn't see a single ball even take a little bump on those greens last week. Quail Hollow was spectacular. And that's the standard that the rest of the PGA Tour courses should follow, because they had it in spades. Everything you wanted to see a golf course perform as. It wasn't as tough as it was in years past because the weather was so benign, but the course has teeth. Like even the guys that were up at the top, you could tell they were grinding, even and they were making putts. That was kind of what came down to was being enough to give yourself a chance, or being below the hole in general with greens running that fast and true. Is if you were behind the hole going downhill, you had no chance.
Yeah, and Quail Hollow is always a fun course to watch every single time that we get to see it. I mean, the course is always pristine. It's always a challenge. I think the only maybe sour thing about this week was it just was not the people that I thought were going to rise to the top. And so
it's not.
And oddly enough, Wyndham Clark taking it down, and props to Wyndham Clark. I mean,
love it.
And it stung me a little bit just because I've been banging the drum so hard for Wyndham Clark, and this was like the first week in probably a month.
I went back to last week's show just because I know I said his name, and that was it. I said his name as one of the people I was targeting in DFS. I wasn't betting on him, of course, because that would be too smart, is to go after guys who are amazing off the tee every week and just caught fire. And he mentioned his mental aspect to this season rather than how he had been playing. And you could see that he was grinding and he wasn't folding like he had in years past. When he played well, he never put it all together. But this last week, you could tell he was strong. Like his game was sharp. And even when he had a bad hole, he didn't just pack up and give up. And I think that was huge for him to get his first PGA Tour win. And I got a little choked up when he putted it on 18. That was powerful because that guy worked his ass off for so many years just to get that moment. And like he couldn't even look at his caddy without choking up. So that shows you the grind that those guys go through just to make a paycheck. And yes, he did make $3.6 million on Sunday, but that's what his whole life had led up to. And we're talking a guy that's our age, really. That's Can you imagine not giving up on that dream and
Oh,
then finally breaking through for that sort of payday?
I mean, I could imagine if if the uh, the end goal of my dream was making millions of dollars. Yes, but no, I get your point, and I'll say with Wyndham Clark, I mean, Wyndham Clark is somebody that just I've been a fan of for a while, but he's always been really challenging to watch because he's just really sporadic, and he like has a hard time keeping his game in control. And I mean, to quote the headline of a similar article I read this week, Wyndham Clark has stopped living and dying on every individual shot, and I think that
Mhm.
it speaks a lot to the mental, like where he's at mentally, which as we're starting to hear more and more as we get to see these guys more frequently, like these guys probably go through mental torture and warfare more every week than most professional athletes do, because it is a mind game with yourself, and that stress level is super high. So I think it's kind of neat that we're getting to see some of the psyche and hear about like what these guys go through every week. So
And that's kind of the look behind the curtain that we're seeing since the Netflix series came out. When Full Swing came out, we really did get to see their lifestyle, what they go through every day to prepare for tournaments. And that's kind of the thing is it's really is a tour. It's a traveling circus. Like Tony Finau's got his wife and 5 kids on the road with him. And I can't even imagine having a wife and 5 kids at home. And this guy's going all over the world with them. And it's insane because these guys are well compensated, but only if they're at the best of the best, the very top. And the difference in ability level between those guys and even your club professionals is gigantic. It's not even close.
it's a massive gap. Absolutely
Dude,
massive.
it's the gap between a club pro and us as a weekend golfer is a lot smaller than between a club pro and a tour pro.
Well, shit, dude. And if you even look at like the top 20 golfers in the world versus the other 120, 110, 120 guys that are playing in a field week on week, the gap from those top 20 to even number 21 on the list is massive. So
Which is crazy.
yeah, I mean, it's a real grind, and the guys that are at the top of this game are absolute beasts mentally and physically, and I think it's really
It-
cool that we're getting to see a lot more of that. So
It's all about consistency and finding the consistent excellence. I can't even fathom how they get to that level because it just takes years and years and years of not giving up and getting better all the time. Let's talk about the AT&T Byron Nelson. Let's hit the club twirls because we're going to be betting on some golf. We're going to talk about the course a little bit. This course is as easy as it gets on tour, which is going to be fun to talk about because I get to do the course layout this week. I'm excited. Let's hit the drop. No, let's twirl some clubs, okay? All right, Connor. TPC Craig Ranch in McKinney, Texas. Par 71 traditionally was a par 72 up until a few years ago. They took the 13th hole, which is 512 yards. They turned it into a par 4, which is just a cruel joke at this point. That's ridiculous. A 512-yard par 4. And it's not even downhill. Like last week, the 1 and 10 were 500 plus par 4s, but they were downhill. And you'd see guys hit 400-yard drives, and it was just a regular par 4 after the tee shot. This week, the 13th hole, it's 512 and it's flat. But at least if you hit the fairway, it'll roll out of ways because in Texas, those fairways are going to be close mown, short rough. There is a creek that runs through the course. There's tree line fairways, but the fairways are very forgiving. They are bountiful. The greens are big and flat and slow. They water the crap out of these greens. So we're going to see some approach shots stick like darts on a dartboard. We're going to see birdies and eagles. Par 71, 7,400 and change. I can't imagine this winning score being worse than 25 under, because the tournament record was set in 2021 with KH Lee, and then last year he broke his own tournament record with 26 under. I can't imagine it's going to get any worse, because even though there is some weather in the forecast, it's Texas thunderstorm weather. So they're going to have some delays from lightning and thunder and heavy rain and maybe even some hail. But it's just going to make the course easier because it's going to be softer. This is going to be an absolute scoring fest, right, Connor?
Definitely. And to your point, I had the score about the same. I was about 22 to 26 is my guess.
Yeah.
You nailed it with KH Lee. Sets a record, then breaks his record. Also,
the Panda.
Important to note, KH Lee played pretty well last week too. I think he shot 8 under. So it's not like he's not in form going into a place he's won twice. So that's something to think about.
And in 2020, of course, the tournament was canceled. 2019, a Korean won too. So we've had 3 straight of versions of this event won by a South Korean. That's going to be cool to see if we get another Korean winner. Maybe Panda wins again. Maybe a different Korean that we are going to talk about very soon will win.
I think it might be someone from Japan, actually. But so the
I think so, huh?
Couple things that I'll add is this is actually bent grass, which is a pretty big change.
Bent grass greens.
Bent grass.
The fairways are Bermuda. The rough is some other one I can't pronounce, but it's really short, close mow, and there's trees. There's a bunch of mesquite and oak trees. But
the grass matters, though, here, especially given that bent grass is a surface that these guys have not been playing on. Putting is important here. So if you are looking at stats at all, bear in mind that this is a different surface, and to Bo's point, incredibly slow. And then on top of that, not bent grass in general, but this week at this course, bent grass, it's very slow. And then with the weather coming in, I think it's a better than 50% chance of rain every single day. So this place is going to stay
lift clean in place on those fairways. It's going to be target practice
for sure. So, and then, stats that I looked at that coincide with kind of what Bo talked about. I looked at shots gained approach really heavily. I looked at driving distance. Birdies are better gained, obviously. Like, we need guys that are absolutely scoring. Proximity, I looked at the 200 plus range, not only for some of the longer approach shots, but also because all of the par 3s are over 200 yards. 3 of them are over.
For one.
That's right. 3 out of the 4.
17 is shorter.
Yep. But the 3 are over 200, and I think it's 212 a piece.
Mm-hmm.
And then something that a lot of people were looking at this week, as I've kind of been listening and doing a little bit of research, a lot of people are really into the par 5 scoring metric this week, shots gained par 5.
There's only 3 of them.
I went a different route. I went shots gained par 4.
Perfect.
Because everybody's got the same looks on these par 5s for the most part.
And there's only 3 of them.
And I don't think it's a differentiator,
No.
I think the par 4s in general, if you've got guys that are scoring well on par 4s, you marry that up with bogey avoidance. I think that'll give you a direction to go with kind of your player pool. So, and your betting pool.
There's 11 par 4s on this course. So you're going to have some par 4s are way more important than par 5s here.
That's it. That's all I know.
And yes, I would say strokes gained putting on Bermuda. Or not Bermuda, bent grass is gonna play a part here. Not for the difficulty of it, but maybe more of as like an equalizer, a tiebreaker stat, where I'm not heavily weighting it. But if I'm looking at 2 different guys and deciding who to bet on, the guy that puts better on bent is probably gonna get the nod for me, because you're gonna have to make some putts to score here, and you're gonna have to. If you're not making birdies on this course, you are either not going to make the cut or you're not going to be anywhere close on Sunday. And that's, we're talking about probably a 4 or 5 under cut here after 2 days. So yeah, you're going to have to shoot in 60s twice on the weekdays just to see the weekend, which seems ridiculous, but that's how easy this course is by tour standards.
Well said, sir.
Scottie Scheffler is getting between 3.5 to 4.5 to 1 odds, depending on your book. I still am going to go heavy bone and bet 2 or 3 units on Scottie Scheffler because I think he's going to win. I really do.
I would tend to agree with you. I don't know. He's in the 5 guys I'm looking at to win.
He's number 2 in the world. He's the only member of the top 10 in the world golf rankings to be here. It would have Spieth isn't in the top 10, but he's a Texan that has great course history here. Wrist injury, withdrew. So there is nobody else here within the same stratosphere as Scottie Scheffler, and he's a Texan, and he's been close here many times. This is the 3rd time he's been here. I think he's going to be really hunting down that win, because it means a lot for him to win the Byron Nelson more than anybody else here.
Yeah, again, he's amongst the 5 guys I'm looking at. I'm not as convinced as you are. There are a couple guys.
Very.
Here's why I'm not as convinced as you are on Scottie. He is obviously Scottie Scheffler. However, his putting, especially over the last 48 rounds of golf, has been not excellent. So he's going to have to make up for it. In my opinion, he's going to have to make up for it with the driver and with his approach shot, and he's going to have to be sticking it close. Now, is that possible? Absolutely, especially with the conditions. So I'm not ruling him out, but I'm definitely a little wary of the putter right now, and I'm even a little more timid because I think this may be a tune-up for Scottie getting ready for next week. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some different pre-putt routine, some different kind of rhythm to what he's doing on the green, because it hasn't been working tremendously well, and I think there's going to be a lot of him sorting that out. Now, like I said, 100% possible that doesn't impact his ability to win this, and that's why I would still bet him.
Yeah. Well, last time we saw Scottie scuffling into a tournament where he was the favorite, he went and won the damn thing. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. Is the short odds just mean I'm gonna have to lay more money on the line, but I haven't been this confident in an odds-on favorite all season, and that for me, that's just because even if he's in his B+ game, he's going to win this thing by 5 shots.
Yeah, I like Scottie. Bet Scottie.
All right. Your second guy, I think we've been alluding to it from the land of the rising sun. Why Hideki Matsuyama? Explain it to me. He was runner-up last year. Am I right?
Yeah, and there's other things about Hideki's game that I like that's set up, especially if this place does stay sopping wet. He tends to play better in softer conditions, slower conditions. We know that he can have an excellent approach game at times. When he's rolling his putter works with him. He's not a good putter, but he's not a bad putter. I just really like on a second shot course, which this very much is, Hideki's approach and Hideki's ability to hit to a target and have a consistent look at the same approach each day. Just a few things that I kind of like about him. I also just really like the number 20-1 on Hideki Matsuyama in this field. I think that's a hell of a price on him. So I'm going to take a few shots at Hideki this week. He's not a guy that I get on often, but like I said, the minute I kind of started looking at the rollout on this course, the receptive greens, and the fact that it's going to stay wet, a lot of those things kind of said Hideki.
For all the reasons you said you weren't going to play Scottie, you're going out on a limb on Hideki because his number is good. Okay.
I didn't say I wasn't going to play Scottie. When did I say
that?
I
know. It's just curious. It's just curious.
I think Hideki at range is consistently better on approach than Scottie is. Scottie as overall approach, I think they're pretty comparable. Scottie's probably got the edge, but when you start getting out the 175, 200 range, I think I would trust Hideki's approach more than Scottie's from that range.
Yeah, 18 is a good number for him. I agree. I'm at 16. I'm going with Tom Kim. He is made for this course. We're talking all the same reasons you said. Not the best putter, but when a tournament requires going low, I just think of the Wyndham last year when he got his first win and he shot 61 on Sunday. That's the kind of course that we're on here, where it's if you need to get a guy to just throw darts at every pin. From long iron distance, Tom Kim's amazing. From short iron distance, Tom Kim's amazing. Driving distance wasn't as heavily weighted for me as it was for you this week because we've seen winners that are very short hitters here. It's all about the approach. It's all about making yourself opportunities to make those birdies or better. Tom Kim in a tournament where the objective is to make a ton of birdies, I really like him at 16 or 18 to 1, depending on the book. Tom Kim, I have plenty ahead of Matsuyama in the same metrics. Matsuyama comes in 13th on my model, which is still fine, but Tom Kim third. That tells me everything I need to know that he's going to be ready to go, especially tuning up for a PGA Championship. That it's going to be a lot tougher on him.
Yeah, we're not even close on Tom Kim. Like I'll have Tom Kim in DFS, but he rates out in the mid-20s for me. The way I built.
How did our side bet go, by the way, last week?
I think we both missed the cut, didn't we? Didn't.
It wasn't good, guys.
But yeah, no, I'm a big Tom Kim fan. I just don't know.
There's your fourth consecutive Korean winner too, by the way. That's my prediction.
I don't think so, man, because I think Tom Kim's done a pretty good job of kind of creating the illusion that he scores birdies in bunches. Because I mean, there's some stats that I looked at where birdies are better gained over the last 24 rounds that put Tom Kim near the back half of this field. Precisely at 100.
Oh, he doesn't do it at tough events. I know that.
So, but that's all I'm saying is I think that he has the ability to. I just wouldn't say that it's a foregone conclusion. So, I'm probably not as amped about Tom Kim and the betting market as I am in DFS, just because I do think he's a solid bet to make the cut. I do think, to your point, he has a scoring prowess, but I don't see him winning.
Man. Okay. Well, my next guy goes down.
We're going to disagree a lot or agree a lot.
I don't think we're going to disagree much more because my next guy is going to be down at 40 to 1. Min Woo Lee, noted Conor Coughlin guy. He is a Korean descent Australian, and we've seen Australians win this tournament before. Of course, we had Jason Day win in 2010, and Stephen Bowditch won in 2015 out of nowhere. Off the top rope, Stephen Bowditch won this tournament in 2015. And I think the difference between Koreans and Australians in this tournament, we got this sucker surrounded because it seems like those are the only countries that win this damn thing. And he's both. His parents are from South Korea, and he was born in Australia. I think that's an omen, wouldn't you say? 40 to 1 for a guy with his ball striking and distance. He's going to take this place over.
And this is like 100% the type of setup that we've been waiting for Min Woo Lee. Less competitive. Distance is important.
No consequence to missing the fairway, really.
Approach is important. Distance is important. Yeah, I know that number on Min Woo I really, really like. And
that's so cheap.
So
40 to 1 on a guy the dude hits the ball an absolute mile. And he's a great approach player. His short game is a little scary sometimes, but it's not that important this week. So I'm all in that 40 to 1 number. Did you have anybody a little bit less than 40 to 1 that I skipped over?
He was one of my 5, by the way. I think he's got every possibility of winning this thing.
I knew you were going to agree with that one.
I do think Adam Scott at 30 to 1. We kind of
Australian. Australians and Koreans. That's all I'm going to play.
Dude, it's like this weird resurgence of the guys that I used to grow up watching play golf, right? Yeah. Like all of a sudden, Jason Day's back in form outside of last
Adam week. Scott, true to his 20 years on, he's been on the PGA Tour for 21 years. That is mind-blowing. The guy has that consistent longevity, especially since he's never been a good putter, ever.
He was better when you could chest anchor. But
yeah, when you could anchor and he was cheating, he was okay. He still wasn't that good with the long putter anchored to his chest.
No, I don't know, man. It's kind of wild how good he's playing right now.
His ball striking is fantastic.
And he hasn't missed a cut yet this year, which
that's not surprising. The dude, but he also hasn't finished in the top 10 either.
But again, you look at the strength of field
He's
here.
been between 15th and 50th every week this year.
Man, I don't know. He looked decent again last week. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm not. Again, he's one of those guys that like is more of a gut play for me, eye test type of play. But 30-1 on Adam Scott in this field
I don't
seems.
think he can make enough birdies here.
I don't know, man. I don't think that's going to be the problem. He scores decently. So, but that's just a guy I was going to throw out. And then yeah, my next guy is actually right below Minwoo Lee with Tom Hoagie. Going to go back to Tom Hoagie this week. Rates out number one in the model I built in terms of approach, not only approach, but he rates out number one in the 200 plus yard approach metric. He also rates out number one in 225 plus.
Overall approach, proximity. Tee
He's
green, I believe, or at least ball striking off the tee and on approach.
He's got some issues off the tee, but I don't think that's a big deal here. His putting is, middle of the road. He's not a bad putter, not a good putter. His proximity metric, his actual opportunities gained when you look at him on the green or where he's landing on the green, rather, pretty stellar. So I think that's again a pretty good number. You can get him as high as 50-1 in some places, but 45 on DK right now.
I like Davis Riley for the same price, 45-1. He has amazing course history here. He is both of our guys. We've been talking about him for 2 years now. He finally gets his PGA Tour win at the Zurich with his buddy. But I think this might be a chance for Davis Riley to show off his individual game and maybe get his first solo PGA Tour win at 45-1 for a guy of his streakiness and caliber. When he's on, he's going 30 under. When he's off, he's missing the cut by 10.
Yeah, right.
Davis Riley is an enigma.
He just barely missed the five guys I was looking at. I decided at that number I liked Hoagie just a little better, which is kind of painful because I'm a huge Davis Riley fan. But I'm with you, Bo. I think it's as good a look as the Tom Hoagie right there at the same number. So
I'm ready to take a shot on Davis Riley because you can't root against the guy. He's such a good human playing great golf this year. Most of the time, he's had some duds this year for sure, but we've seen him win. As far as the next tier, there's quite a few decent plays here. Brandon Wu, shout out NorCal. Brandon Wu, found out that him and Dylan Wu, not related. They're the same age. They're both PGA Tour rookies. Brandon Wu's from NorCal. And Dylan Wu's from Southern Oregon, just up the highway from me. This is great. I love both of the Wu's. I don't love Brandon Wu's number at 50-1, but I love Dylan Wu at 90-1. I think I'll play both of them on a ticket just because I'm a Wu-Tang Forever fan with these two. I'm rooting for both of them now. I prefer Dylan Wu at cost, but both of them are getting some rooting interest from me.
Love them. Cream, man. Cream.
Yes, dollar bills, y'all.
Fan favorite of the show, Eric Cole, right in there at
60
and 70-1 respectively, wherever you might be searching for a number.
Yep.
Not going to quit him now. And then getting way down. Sorry, I'm trying to scroll to my number. Do you have anybody while I'm scrolling to the bottom here?
I do. I have Pearson Cootie at 150-1. Pearson Cootie missed the cut at Wells Fargo. I think that course was too tough for him, but he's been on fire on the Korn Ferry Tour, and he's looked okay in most of his PGA Tour events, especially the ones on courses that aren't overly challenged. Like Quill Hollow ate him for lunch, but I think at TPC Craig Ranch, Pearson Cootie has skills. We're talking all-around game skills. He's insanely gifted as a golfer. And I can see a guy at that much of a long shot making a bunch of birdies and popping up on the top of the leaderboard. And I think he's strong enough mentally to put it all together if he's in contention. I've seen a lot of good things out of him this year. And it's not the first time I've put Pearson Cootie on my board, and it definitely won't be the last, but this is the kind of place where somebody like him can do really well.
I one day will come around to your Pearson Cootie love. I will.
You're
Since
gonna catch my cooties.
I already named my guys that I actually have real, genuine interest in playing outrights on. So I'll jump to my bottom guy, my dart of the week here. Augusto Nunez at 300 to 1. We've mentioned him before on this show. Absolutely hits the shit out of a golf ball. Averages 315 yards. And he's relatively accurate with that 315 yards per drive. He also boasts a 72% green and regulation rate. And he's somebody that honestly has been just kind of quietly right in the middle of the field, kind of making a little noise here and there. But I think you could do some really interesting things with a to make the cut bet parlay or top 40,
top 20, top 20, top 30, top 40. Those are all available on DraftKings. I'm looking at one of your guys down here with great course history. This is one of the only tournaments of the year where Charlie Hoffman actually looks like a PGA Tour professional. Just saying.
I mean, I love old Chucky Hoffman.
God, he's terrible. But yeah, about 3 times a year, he shows up and looks amazing. This is one of those years. It's either the Waste Management, the Byron Nelson, or the Zurich. He looked great at the Zurich already. He already looked great at the Waste Management. So yeah, this is the last chance he'll get to play Charlie Hoffman before the Rocket Mortgage, where he'll show up inevitably and make a top 20 there. But yeah, this is all about taking some shots, but understanding that there's a reason why Scottie Scheffler is such a heavy favorite here. Is if he shows up with B+ Scottie Scheffler game, that's it. That's curtains.
Yeah,
that is it. That is curtains, and Scottie Scheffler will finally win his home tournament. But if he's off like Conor proposes he could be, then anybody could win. Literally anyone.
I just want to reiterate this so that we're not left on a note that
he is playing Scottie Scheffler. I'm not saying he's full fading Scottie because that would be stupid. You're not stupid. You're just a little crazy sometimes.
I'm just making an argument that the amount of units you got to play on a 3.5 to 1 to make it worth your while, if you need a reason to be talked out of that.
And I still subscribe to the notion that a win is a damn win.
Let me know how your $14 turns out for you. You ready to talk about DFS?
It'll be about 60. Okay. It'll be about 60. And I'll make 180 or $200 if he wins. I'll take that.
Almost a bar tab.
Yeah, that's damn right. And a win's a win. You better bet your sweet britches I'll be victory lapping if Scottie wins this damn thing.
I hope he does, man. I love Scottie.
Me too. He's a class act and he's damn good at golf. He's the world number 2 for Christ's sake. Dick Sickles coming in with the old school reference.
You are
you got a fucking dart in your neck.
I like you, man.
Awesome. All right, let's move on. We got to hit some DFS totals, get out of here in under an hour so you can catch the football show. I'll be on that one too. I'm joining Seth and the gang for the football show after this. So that'll be fun. Tune in to the next show on IBT Media.
I swear, it's like you guys think I don't watch football. I love it. I never get invited anymore.
This is the first time I've been on that show. So maybe you're next. All right. No trunk slams this week. Like last week, too many trunk slams.
The club is well. This would be a wrestling slam.
No trunk slams. This is our DraftKings DFS. If you play FanDuel, I'm sorry. I don't partake in FanDuel golf or any sport at this point because they have had some pretty shady business practices over the last few years. I don't mess with them anymore. DraftKings anyway.
But if you work at FanDuel and are watching this show, we absolutely love FanDuel and are open to sponsorship possibilities. So please contact ibtmedia@gmail.com.
There's a number for everything. If you hit my number, I will never say anything bad about you ever again. I just don't feel easy putting my money into that site right now. Things could change. DraftKings right now has a great golf DFS product. So we are playing on DraftKings pricing. We're going to go over on DraftKings starting at Scottie Scheffler, $11,900. Woo! That's expensive. Good luck building around that whopper. I'm still doing it.
I'm still doing it too. And thankfully, I have plenty of plays in the 7s, and I even have 3 in the upper 6s. So we are here to save you if you want to play Scottie.
This is the week where you eat whatever chalk Scottie is, because even if he doesn't win, he's going to score a lot of fantasy points.
Do you want to hear the highest number that we've ever talked about for rostership projection on this show ever?
Scottie Scheffler, 47%.
48.2%.
I was close. Dang, I was close.
50% of.
I've been playing DFS for so long that I'm just dialed in. I'm dialed in. Win or lose, I'm dialed in. I will take that to the bank, and I'm still playing Scottie Scheffler in 60+% of my lineups.
Well, the beautiful thing about it this week is this is a week where I can honestly tell you that rostership probably doesn't matter. And the reason it doesn't matter is because the rest of this field, if you actually do stat modeling, which are the only people that do stat modeling are the same people that give you rostership projections. Exactly. And so if you do care about the modeling and rostership projections, there's going to be guys that we're probably going to talk about tonight that we've probably not talked about on this show before that are going to come in at like 6 or 7% rostered. So you don't have
and they're not going to show up on any other show either.
And you don't have to worry, like, just because one dude in your roster is uber chalk doesn't always mean anything.
Because if a 4% guy in your roster wins alongside that chalk, you win.
And I've cashed in tournaments before where I had 2 or 3 of the chalky guys, and 1 or 2 didn't even make the cut. And that's just when you start getting up into these 40% numbers. That the beautiful thing is, if that guy doesn't make the cut, you and 40% of your closest friends also have that guy. So it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. And I'm going Scottie, Tom Kim. I know you're not, but Scottie, Tom Kim still leaves me 7,100 to play around with per player. I do have a few guys in the high 6s as well that I'll be using in those lineups, but I'm still going to mix and match where I start with Tom Kim or I start with Scottie and go down lower than Tom Kim. I'm going to mix and match, but Scottie is going to be in at least 60% of my lineups. Tom Kim will be in about 40%. And then the rest is a mixed bag of everybody else in my pool. And I'm thinking about tweeting out my entire player pool tomorrow. So I'm gonna see if I can remember to type the whole thing up in notes format, screenshot it, put it on my Twitter page. So if you want my entire DFS player pool, you can have it for free.
I'll tell you what, I will match you on that. I will send out my entire. I have 20 players this week, and I will send out. I'll be very transparent too. I have my player ranks listed right next to the screenshot, so I'll send that out too.
Ooh, I'll have 25 as usual. I do 50 lineups of 25 guys, different weights, different exposures to each one. That's what I'll do is instead of ranking, I will put in order of exposure.
Love it. Yeah, so check our Twitter tomorrow.
Tweet.
So Scottie Scheffler, obviously, you're not going to say a bad thing about the guy. He rates out number 1 or 2 in damn near every metric.
Shocker.
Same thing I said about betting him. I think I'm with Bo. I think he can absolutely win this golf tournament. He probably should win this golf tournament. So 11.9 I think is worth paying for. But if you want to get weird and you want to do something.
Oh, we love getting weird on the show.
And I do say that already at the 10K level because I really do think you'd have to be getting a little weird to not play Scottie. But Terrell Hatton is somebody over the last 24 rounds who's playing incredibly well and rates out in the top 10 in most metrics I looked at. He's number 2 in my model, and he's $10,100. And he would be on a short list of guys that I would put in the same tier competition-wise as Scottie. Scottie is still a better golfer, but Terrell Hatton is somebody who can get absolutely atomically hot. And so I don't mind taking some lineups that start with Terrell Hatton and being a little more balanced just to mix it up.
He's correct. He is correct. Tyrrell Hatton. I'm worried about chalk if I'm going to go with him as a lineup starter. So I don't. I'm going to guess 22% on Hatton.
Yeah, it depends. Like I'm trying to read. It's anywhere between 18 and 21 right now. It's projected.
If you're starting your lineup with Tyrrell Hatton, pay attention to that.
Yeah, I think the same can be said though with him. Is the interesting thing is that if you start with Terrell instead of starting with Scottie, you're already different than 40% of the field minimum. And then on top of that, what you can build and the combinations you can get with Scottie are not going to be or with Terrell rather, are not going to be common builds amongst tournaments because Scottie is so heavily owned. So
yeah,
I think Terrell's going to give you the option to play a little more balanced, which, at the end of the week, this may be a week where a balanced build, even if they don't win the tournament, may actually help you cash and win more money. Because if you play Scottie with two dudes that don't make the cut, then it doesn't really matter. So
yeah.
it's a way to play the game. I'm not saying it's necessarily the way I'm going to this week, but it is something I'm going to have dip my toe in a little bit.
So your guy Hideki Matsuyama, I think it's a really reasonable price at 9,800, especially in this field where it's extremely top heavy. That's a really nice number. His fantasy scoring has not been there with his performance this year, but we know what he can do. We know what Hideki can do when he's on. And I would guess that he's not going to be chalky at all. I would guess he's sub 15%.
He's around 16, and just in transparency, I mean, Hideki rates out number 11 in my model. And the things that popped in my model are exactly the things I talked about him in the betting segment for. He's better at distance than almost anybody. He avoids bogeys, which to Bo's point is not always super conducive to DraftKings because you need guys that score birdies. But he's got an actual decent birdie or better rate. He's 17th in the field in that. So you couple that with his distance metrics and the conditions that I like that favor him. I think to Bo's point, Hideki's a fantastic price, 9,800.
All right. And let's see. I'm going to submit another lineup here. I'm building as we go here because I'm getting ideas as you're mentioning names. I want to build a certain way. Jay Day and Tom Kim at 94 and 96. I prefer Tom Kim. Jay Day has been in good form. However, every time I play him, he sucks. So I'm going to root for Jay Day to do great this week. Not in my lineups. Tom Kim for me is just lights out when the tournaments are required birdies. And Adam Scott, 9,200. Two-time defending champion, KH Panda Lee, 9,300. He's going to be a chalk bomb and a half. If he's not chalky, then something is really wrong with the people who are playing DFS because they're not paying attention to who dominates this course.
Yeah, number 2 projected. He's up in the high 20s. I do want to touch on J-Day for 1 sec before we kind of keep rattling off, though, and I won't go on and on. You can go back and watch the last 3 shows if you want to hear me talk about Jason Day for ad nauseum. But the things that I really like about Jason Day this week is even with his performance last week, he's number 1 in this field over the last 36 rounds for bogey avoidance, and he's number 2 in this field for par 4 shots gained par 4, which I told you were 2 big things I was looking at.
Yeah.
I also love Jason Day for next week. So I'm not going to quit Jason Day now. I'm going to keep riding him for a couple more weeks. See where this train ends
Wendy's
up.
with me.
I know, Wendy.
We're doing the kiss of death, though, because Jason Day being dead to us just means that he's probably going to win now.
He's not dead to me. And two more weeks, mark my words, 2 more weeks. If I don't see a Jason Day win in the next 2 weeks, you won't have to hear me talk about him
So
anymore.
he's either got to win this week or the PGA. Okay.
I think he might win the PGA. Go read my article.
Ooh, that's spicy. All right. So I think Kuchar's going to get some run here in the chalk department. I like Seamus Power better. 8,900, birdie machine, great off the tee, great putter. Seamus Power, I'm not comfortable enough to bet on him, but as a DFS player, he's averaging a full 10 more fantasy points per game than Matt Kuchar at $100 less. That doesn't make any sense.
I think there's still just like this desire to play Matt Kuchar. I don't really understand.
I mean, he's easy to root for, but he doesn't score fantasy points.
And I don't think he plays particularly great either. I mean, he's always in the middle of stuff. I mean, if he makes a cut, he'll be in the middle of the field. I mean, it's not, I don't know, Matt Kuchar a few years back, sure. Like, I think he's a viable threat to win in a tournament like this, but like Matt Kuchar, I mean, isn't going to score the way that Seamus Power can, in my opinion. I would definitely roster Seamus over Matt Kuchar for sure, because Seamus Power's got the firepower to actually potentially win this, whereas Matt Kuchar's got the firepower to be T10 at best.
Where is Taylor Montgomery from?
Is that
because the last time we saw him play well was at the Valero Texas Open. And that concerns me. I'm looking up right now. Taylor Montgomery.
I know he's getting love. He went to UNLV. He's from Vegas.
He's from Vegas. Okay. He's one of my guys. Taylor Montgomery from Vegas. He plays well on the West Coast. We saw him catch fire on those bent grass greens on the West Coast. And we got bent grass greens in Texas. I think he's going to get some love. And depending on what his ownership looks like tomorrow, I might be in on Taylor Montgomery because he's a birdie machine. And especially on these greens, but he can make them from anywhere on these greens because they're so slow and so easy to read and so true. He's terrible off the tee, like cannot hit the ball off the tee to save his life. But approach, he's solid, and putting, he's world class. So I can kind of see where Taylor Montgomery is getting love, and I understand it. I'm still on the fence, though. Tip me over.
Taylor Montgomery hits the ball about 312 yards on average. Hits about 50% of the fairways that he looks at.
He doesn't know where it's going.
He's a little less than 67% in greens and regulation, so I'm not in love with his approach game. His putting prior to hitting the Bermuda stretch, I would have undoubtedly said he was one of the better putters on tour.
Yeah, Bermuda killed him.
Last like 4 or 5 weeks.
Rough.
I can honestly tell you I'm comfortable being late to the Taylor Montgomery party. I think
he's too expensive because he's been dead DFL last 2 weeks.
And to be honest, man, like I think I got good play out of Taylor Montgomery, and I just think now that, to your point with that money, I think that's probably better spent somewhere else.
Tom Hoagie and Minwoo Lee are both cheaper.
And that's Tom Hoagie is absolutely a key play as part of my core this week.
85 and 84 for him and Lee. That's just fun. Are either one of them getting any chalk?
Hoagie more than Minwoo. So, I mean, it's Taylor Montgomery's around 4.5. Tom Hoagie is at 15, which makes sense. He's obviously scores well. Anybody who's looking at rostership this early in the week is modeling, and Tom Hoagie rates out well. Minwoo at 6% rostership is probably
yes. Thank you, golf gods.
And I think honestly, like a lot of those lineups that I was talking about, starting with Terrell or starting with Hideki, are going to have both these guys.
Smash.
So,
smash.
I will say, if you play Scottie lineups and you play a lot of Scottie lineups, I would pivot down to Minwoo and avoid Tom Hoagie because you don't want to go chalk.
No.
And Tom Hoagie is definitely one of the higher owned in that range.
I'm building a really, really nasty lineup. I think it's going to be our head-to-head lineup because, yeah, it's nasty. It's filthy. Davis Riley, Adam Hadwin are both intriguing in that low eights, high sevens. Jaeger's getting way too much chalk for me. Aaron Wise has good course history, but hasn't been playing well all this year.
I might have a little bit of Yeg bombs. I might.
From Deutschland.
He rates out too well to completely pass him by. He's
looked good the last couple of weeks too.
Yeah, I'll be strategic about how I play him because I think he's going to be popular. Getting down there, Bezadenhout is getting a ton of steam behind him.
Why?
Up around 20%.
He missed the cut at the ISPS Honda. Come on, man. He hasn't played since the Heritage. In the Heritage, he got 19th, but this dude doesn't play enough for me.
It's early in the week, man, so it's not as many lineups as normally. But of the lineups that are generated, he's in 21% of the lineups.
Easy fade. Oh my god, that's disgusting.
Yeah, kind of wild.
Hard pass.
Yeah, so
give me Davis Riley for 100 less.
Yeah,
give me Brandon Wu for 200 less.
Yeah, Wu-Tang forever. I'm probably more heavy on Dylan, who is chalkier than Brandon, but that's all right.
Oof. Really?
Yeah, much more. Dylan's coming again. Not a ton of lineup,
but that's lame because Dylan's my guy. He can't be anybody else's guy. That's just not kosher.
Yeah, Dylan's 17 right now, so that's not.
Jeez, I don't like that at all. Brandon 7,800. I like that.
Bramlett, somebody right there at 7,900, rates out 10.
Bombing Bramlett.
And Bramlett really does bomb the ball pretty well. And all of the accuracy metrics that I looked at, he's right in the top quarter of the field. So just continuing to do what he does.
I feel you, Wendy.
Same, Wendy. Dude, here's a couple that surprised me, and it's probably how I modeled, but it also generated the guys that we've already talked about. So I trust what I did. Sam Stevens, 7,600.
Also looked pretty good last week for a while.
Yeah. So number one in opportunities gained, I already touched on Tom Hoagie being number 2. So Sam Stevens hits it closer somehow. He's 18th in this field, putting on bent grass in slow conditions, which I ran. Number 11 in par 4 scoring, number 15 in driving distance, number 5 in birdies or better gained, and number 16 in overall approach. So over the last 24 rounds, especially, Sam Stevens has been crushing it. And then Michael Kim right below him rates out number 6 in my model. Similar skill set. And then Eric Cole, number 5 in my model. So Sam Stevens, Michael Kim, Eric Cole, all are packed right together based on how I built the model. And they're all priced 76, 75, 74. So some core plays for me in there with lesser known guys.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Dylan Wu, I'm still going to play in cash games and smaller tournaments, 7,400, same as Eric Cole. He's right there with Eric Cole in my model too. So I'm with you there. Let's see, 74, 70. Yeah, we're getting down to pretty rough territory here. But I can comfortably go down to David Lipsky, not Charlie Hoffman. I'm looking at Pearson Cootie at 6,900. I'm dropping down and then getting nasty in the high 7s or high 6s.
What do you think of Tyler Duncan at 7,100?
T-Dunk. Nah, he didn't pop for me. He doesn't make enough birdies. It's just like he's a boring player.
You said that about Ben Griffin, and he proceeded to make like 3 more weeks of cuts after you said it.
Just saying, 7 out of 19 is not very good. But of course, I'm the one that played Cameron Champ, who made 4 out of 18, and he made the cut and made top 10. So I mean, it's just the way I feel about it. You get a gut feeling on a guy. I don't have a gut feeling about Tyler Duncan. Sorry, T-Dunk. Not this week.
He rates out pretty decent for me. I might have some. I'll look at ownership on that one, but he's somebody down there in kind of a sea of what I think is going to be pretty chalky given the Scottie Scheffler lineup. So I think you got to get a little creative, a little risky in the 7s to be different.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to stop with Pearson Cootie at 6,900. Do you have anybody else down there?
I'll rattle them off. I already talked
Cody Gribble. Cody Gribble.
Any Gribble for you? Augusto Nunez, who I already talked about.
Excellent.
So don't need to revisit that. 6,700. Couple of relatively unknown names. Brandon Matthews, number 1 in this field for overall driving distance. Number 26 in this field for 225 and in. Those are kind of the big ones that pop for him. Pretty much an off the tee guy that hits the ball a long way. Kevin Roy, number 5 over the last 24 for overall approach. Number 8 in opportunities gained. So he hits the ball close, but he is not a long hitter. So he's got a little bit of a challenge when you get outside of about 200 yards. He's not bad 200 in. But if you got to get creative down here at the bottom, he's got some really good approach numbers. And then the last guy that I've got is Brent Grant, who I've talked about one other time. 6,500, number 4 in the field for driving distance, number 5 in shots gained off the tee. And then he is number 6 in birdie or better gained over the last 24. So he makes birdies in bunches. So you could probably do a hell of a lot worse down at 6,500 if you find yourself down in the slums.
All right. Understood. This has been the 19th Hole Live, part of the In Between Media Group. Make sure you like and subscribe. Catch us next week for the second major of this PGA Tour season, the PGA Championship. It's the only major where they're not going to let the live guys in. Sorry. So we'll see you next week for the second major. Where are they playing? Oak Hill? That'll be fun.
Oak Hill and the live guys are in this one, at least some of them.
At the PGA Tour, PGA Championship?
Yeah, I'm betting on Brooks Koepka.
Yikes. Okay. I don't know how that's going to go. All right. Thanks for joining us. Let's get the outro here.